Hey guys, this is episode 5 of the Jimmy Kang podcast. On today's episode, I'm having a conversation with Sofia Ludema. I'm stoked to talk to Sofia because we went to the same high school, but never really got to know each other. It's the whole point of this podcast is to just have an excuse to have conversations with people and to get to know them. So now we get to make up for that lost time. So Sofia, welcome to the podcast. How's it going?
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I was super happy when I heard you're doing this, and I really like supporting people's passions and supporting whatever they want to do.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I was surprised when you reached out to me because I just put up a story and was asking kind of everyone, "Hey, do you want to be on a podcast?" And then you reached out, and we've never been super close. Like I think we've ran in kind of adjacent social circles, but have never really been super close. So I guess what kind of prompted you, or what made you want to reach out to be on the podcast?
Um, so honestly, like I just okay. I know we didn't like talk much in high school, and I think that that's something that I even kind of regret looking back is like I think I spent a lot of my life kind of grouped into, you know, social circles and never really like bothered branching out or like getting to know
Mm,
other kinds of people. And I always wanted to like, when I went to college, I kind of made an effort to change that. I kind of made an effort to get to know people who are not just like me, because I feel like in high school you're friends with everybody who's just like you. It's like your friends group tends to be people with the exact same like interests and like family upbringing even, and we won't even get into like race and things like that. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm all for meeting new people. I love people, and I'm all for people following their passions, and I like your energy, and I like that you want to do this. So I'm happy to be here.
I love that. Yeah, I think I was the same in high school, and it's probably not. I don't know. It's something that a lot of people do in high school because you're kind of in that circle. When I was
Yeah.
in high school, I was in a couple circles like soccer. I was in that circle, and then I was super into um, uh, my church, so I hung out with like a lot of friends from my church, and I was
Mm.
like kind of in that. It was pretty intense church too, and so I wasn't able to connect with a lot of the people who like weren't in that circle, which is
Are you still part of your church?
I'm not part of that church anymore. But I mean, I'm still friends with some of the people there. But yeah, it was an intense church, and like looking back, I think it's good to get distance from that, like to go to college and then to go to the Bay and kind of get some perspective on it. Because
Yeah.
I mean, some of it was good, but it was pretty intense. It was kind of, I mean, it was a good church in some ways, but it was also a church that I think was pretty intense and kind of judged people, and that kind of rubbed off on me. Like
Right.
um, so I'm glad I've gotten some distance from that and some perspective, and it's
We're
kind of
getting really
mellowed out
deep
a little
really
bit.
fast, huh?
We're
I
getting
know.
right
I
into
mean,
it.
I agree with. I was gonna say. I think that that was actually very common with like where we grew up.
Yeah.
I think where we grew up had a lot of very strict kind of like ideas about how you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to live, what a woman is supposed to act like, what a man is supposed to act like. And although I was never fully affiliated with any sort of religious institution,
Hmm.
I definitely got this sort of secondhand, like it rubbed off on me from the people I chose to be around, the friends I chose to have, the circles, like I was talking about, and just like the community in Orange County. I think it like definitely got in my head too. So like
Yeah.
I can totally understand. And then also for me too is like moving away for college was like probably one of the coolest things I ever did, because like
Mm.
you realize that there's so many walks of life. You kind of start to take yourself a little less seriously, you know?
Yeah. Do you think it's like getting that perspective of just stepping out of high school and stepping out of our bubble, or what was it? Do you think that was kind of an
I
awesome
think it,
experience about
okay, so
college?
yeah, I think it is stepping out of our bubble. And then I think it's being allowed to be, being allowed to show certain parts of who you are without judgment,
Mm.
right? So I think our community, um, I think, okay, I think a lot of the people where we're from are handed a lot of what they have, you know, it just sort
Sure.
of like is handed to them from their parents, or I don't know, there's resources abundant. It's a pretty wealthy neighborhood.
Hmm.
It's also pretty conservative in OC, and like, you know, um there's ideas on how a woman should dress and how a woman should treat her body, use her body. And
Yeah.
I was taught to be think my shoulders were shameful
Wow.
as of the age like 13.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I used to get in trouble in high school because you could see like this. Like
Really?
you could see a strap,
From
or you
school?
can, yeah, you couldn't,
Wow.
I couldn't have bare shoulders in high school. We would get dress code. And like,
It's pretty wild.
yeah, and I've like since then I've met so many strong women, smart women,
Hmm.
and I've learned so much about how we should never be ashamed of our bodies. We should never be ashamed about what our bodies need, what our bodies want. And like a whole nother subject, like the way so many of my friends from high school have come out to me now, when because in high school they were not allowed to tell anybody who they loved because
Hmm.
of where we grew up. It was like
Very taboo to be gay.
extreme. And then you know, I'm very outspoken on like all my social media platforms. I'm very
Yeah.
loud about how I don't um believe in uh, being told to be anything other than like what you are, and I don't think you should have shame for who you love or what you want to do with your body. And I think so many people from college who I used to be friends with have come to me, or for so many people from high school have come to me now, feeling like now I'm like the only safe space they have to come out to,
Hmm.
which is sad, but also glad I can be there for them, you
Yeah.
know?
I love that about you. I love that you put that out there. And I think that's good. That's a compliment to who you are, that people are willing to come out and talk to you about it, and they're maybe not willing to talk
I'm,
to their parents or their certain
yeah,
friends. And that's a huge compliment, you know?
I'm honored. I'm very honored.
Yeah.
I love to be here for people who feel like the world has told them they can't be who they are.
Mm.
As long as you're not hurting yourself or anyone else, be yourself. As long as you're not hurting someone or hurting yourself, do whatever you want.
I
That's
totally agree. I totally agree.
what
As
I
long as there's
found.
no negative externalities, yeah, you're
Yeah,
not hurting anyone. Like,
yeah,
it
as long
should
as,
be pretty free reign.
yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I agree. Orange County, it's a bubble, conservative bubble. And I mean, now we've spent time in other places where it's the opposite. And it's, yeah, it's interesting. I think when you kind of compress someone into that box and you tell them you have to behave in a certain way, it just like inevitably leads them to go and explode. Like for me, when I grew up in that church bubble, it was like, it was no drinking. It was like none level behavior for me through high school. And then in college, I just went ham for the first couple of years because I'm on my own. I can drink, I can go to parties, so on and so forth. And so,
Well, you know,
um,
that structure can be good for a lot of people. And
yeah,
like, I don't, like I said, I really mean it when I say I don't judge. I'm not, I really mean like, I don't even judge if you want to be a conservative. I don't judge conservatives. I don't judge progressives. Like, if you want to go to a strict church, if you want to have these rules and not be allowed to drink, and if you want to be a nun, like, you're not really hurting anyone. You might be hurting
right.
yourself, but if you're happy, I don't judge. You know what I mean?
Totally. I think it's not acting like that that's bad, or like choosing to live your life in a certain way that's bad. It's just when you feel a ton of social pressure to conform to that's bad. And you don't have that kind of free thinking that you were talking about, where
Yeah.
you just, okay, all the people around me are acting like this, so I have to act like this. And if I act kind of out of line, then people are going to tell me to get back in my own lane and act like that's the bad part. And like,
Yeah.
that's the part that I think, like, I was probably acting very phony because I wanted to conform to that kind of rigid lifestyle. And then once I was able to step back from it and get some perspective, I was like, that's definitely not who I am. Like, it took me a while to kind of be at peace with me not being that person.
Yeah.
But it feels much better, like thinking about these big questions we are getting into it right off the bat, like religion or whatever. All of these things that you think about, like those big questions. It's good coming at it from your own perspective and not just that group think of an area that you're from, or group of friends that you're from. It's like when you have that calm time to reflect on it and think about it, it's helpful, I think. Yeah. So I didn't say much in your intro because I don't know that much about you. I guess how would you describe yourself?
Myself.
Yeah. It's a big, scary question, but
I know that is a big scary
yeah.
question. I feel like ultimately I'm like the biggest things that are most important to me in my life are my friends and family. I think sometimes I will even prioritize my friends and family over myself. And
Hmm.
I think I'll even prioritize my friends and family over my job.
Hmm.
Um, I'll like do anything, like I'll drop whatever, whenever, if they like needed me. And like I do love that about myself. I do. But I think in recent years I've just been sort of learning how to like do that for myself too, like be my own best friend too. And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Um, that's how I would describe myself. I know a lot of people like when they're asked that question will be like, will tell you their like job title or like something
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a whatever. But it's like, I don't think we should be described by our like you know what I mean? Like,
I agree. It's a very small piece of who we are.
yeah, that's not even, that's just like how we make paper. That's not even
Yeah.
like, yeah. So,
Yeah. No, that's been nice on the podcast is sometimes I've had conversations with people about what they do, but I don't know. I think that's kind of, I like to get past the very surface level party small talk. That's like to the typical party small talk. What do you do? Okay, cool. Where'd you go to college?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
where you
You know,
from? Like, what do you
yeah.
do for a living?
I don't know. That stuff's cool, but it's not super important. It doesn't get at like the essence of who someone is. So it's
Right.
cool that you respond to that with your family and friends are super important to you.
And
Um,
I'm a dog mom.
what does that mean?
I have a dog.
Oh, dog mom. I thought you said you were a dogma, and I was like, what does that? What,
No, I define
what kind
myself as
of
a dog mom.
what kind of dog do you have?
He's a lab mastiff who we rescued from the hurricanes in Florida about 3 years ago.
Wow. How did you find out about that? Like dogs needed to be rescued.
Um, well, I was actually looking to adopt for a really long time.
Hmm.
And then when I heard his story, I was like, I just like, I don't know, something in my heart like rang. And then when I went to go see him,
Mm.
they were like, oh, like be careful, like he doesn't trust people, like his family abandoned him in the hurricanes, like he has never like liked anyone who came in here. I was like, let me try. So I go into his kennel and he like hops onto me and like gives me a hug. And they're
No
like,
way.
yeah, they're like, he doesn't even do that with us. Like we feed him every day and he couldn't care less if we pet him or not. And he
That's
like won't stop
amazing.
following you. And ever since then we've just been like attached by the hip and he's like my baby.
Oh my gosh, what's his name?
Rafiki.
Rafigi. Oh my gosh. So how old is he now?
He's 4.
4. Okay. So he's still a pretty young dog.
Yeah, yeah, but like he's been through first the hurricane, and then they didn't tell me this, but I adopted him, and he had heartworm, which
Uh-oh.
is a disease that dogs can contract from mosquitoes.
Mm.
So since he was from Florida, mosquitoes are very abundant, and he had heartworm. So then so that's the second time I saved his life, and then about a year ago, he got attacked by another dog,
Mm.
and that dog almost killed him. And then we saved him again. So he is on
He's
his
been through a
fourth
lot. He's a
life.
trooper.
Yeah, he really, he really is. He
Oh
really
my
is.
gosh. Wait, are mastiffs like those huge dogs?
Yeah, he's pretty big, and they're guard dogs.
Okay.
So
So he's like 80 pounds or something? Lab mastiff?
he is. He's like almost 90 pounds, and
Jeez. Okay. He's a big
yeah,
dog.
he doesn't trust men. He's scared of men, and he will
Okay.
protect me from a man at all costs. So I've definitely had to learn being adopting a dog trains you, not just the dog, you know?
Mm.
I've had to grow up a lot. I've had to get more responsible. I've had to get more cautious. I've had to get more careful because he's my responsibility. And dogs with issues and fears and trauma deserve homes too, you know?
Totally.
Everyone just wants this easy puppy with no problems, but these types of dogs who are like scared of men, they deserve homes too. So it's my job to fucking learn and get my shit together. And I've definitely grown up having had him.
Mm. Yeah, we had a dog, Maggie, Wheaten Terrier. We got her a long time ago when we were kids. And then my parents split. And then when I went off to college, they wanted to basically put my dog up for adoption. So I was like, I'm not letting you put my dog up
Yeah,
for adoption.
no.
It was my senior year of school. So I took Maggie to school with me. And it made me, she was an older dog, but it made me grow up really quick too. Cause it wasn't just I could go off and do my own thing every day. I had to think about walking her, feeding her, so on and so forth. But it's totally worth it. You know,
Yeah.
like I would have regretted not doing that. And it is a lot of work, but I think yeah, it's so worth it. I don't know. Maybe it's like similar in some ways to having a kid. Like it's definitely a burden, but it brings you so much joy that
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, hard to explain, but
Yeah. And
definitely
I
worth it.
adopted him when I feel like I was more of a kid, you
Mm,
know? And
yeah.
like when I only like was worried about myself, like I would go out or whatever and, just do whatever I wanted. And then you realize, oh, there's something that's relying on you. And he was not the easiest dog. I mean, having been abandoned, he had like abandonment issues. He had some fear of men, having been abused. And I have had to protect him by being very cautious around certain men, or
Hmm.
I don't know, it's tough because I think people are very quick to judge a dog, and then also like the owner. I mean, it wasn't easy. I didn't have a very supportive home at the time. I was living with 14 girls, and
Wow.
they wanted like a cute little puppy that like got them attention
They
and
wanted
all.
an Instagram dog. Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted a dog where all the fat guys would want to come over and play,
Yeah.
so that they could get attention. Like, and I got this dog that was like scared of men and like like this dog that needed a home,
Yeah.
and they were not supportive whatsoever. But yeah, I don't know. I just I stayed consistent and I protected him from a lot. I made my mistakes. I mean, people make mistakes, but we're here.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, so many people do that. They buy dogs sort of as these props, or these dogs like fit their picture that they. I know guys do that for sure. I hear about that all the time, right? They get cute dogs just to get girls. It's kind of weird, um, just to fit some sort of image they have in their heads.
Girls do that
Yeah,
too, just to sort of because they
yeah,
think they're gonna like look good with this dog, or they're
really,
gonna get a lot of attention for this dog.
yeah.
So
It's kind of a
not
weird,
totally.
weird. That's a lot of work to look good.
I
you know,
know, right?
I
Like
think you went
when,
about it with a
yeah,
much better motivation of like,
just get a good
yeah,
haircut or something. Like you don't have
seriously,
to like, yeah,
it's
no, I
cheaper,
know.
faster.
It is cheaper.
Um, so like, what are you into outside of work? Like, what do you do to kill time? What are some of your interests?
Um, I spend a lot of time doing. Well, actually, I do yoga. I do
Mm.
yoga and I guess meditation, but those two things kind of really go hand in hand.
How long have you been doing
Um,
that?
a couple years now, actually.
Mm.
And it's been like the coolest thing in the entire world. It's like developing a relationship with yourself. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I create. So like I draw and write.
Mm. What kind of writing?
Um, hmm, what kind of writing? I would say it falls under the category of something like inspirational, but also like poetry.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm writing a book
Oh, so like a collection of poems or one long one?
collection.
Collection. Okay. Of like one page, somewhere around there, like pretty short
Yeah.
ones or
Well, actually, a few or a couple of pages.
okay. Gotcha.
it's a lot of like support. It's a lot of support for women. It's a lot of support for women who have been through the things that I have been through.
Hmm.
Women who, I think too, like something that I guess would apply to you as well is like people who grew up sort of in an area like where we grew up, right? Where us girls, we were taught, your worth goes down if you sleep with a man. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Oh, I went to a church with a few of the friends I used to have, and it was here, pass this rose around, and by the end the pastor takes the rose back, and it's like, what man wants to marry this used up disheveled rose?
Oh
Or
God.
here, chew up this piece of bubble gum, now spit it out. Is a man gonna want this chewed up piece of bubble gum? Or and I'm like thinking back,
What?
I'm like, do you see how detrimental that is to poor
Yeah.
like little girls,
That's
thinking
brainwashing. Yeah.
thinking that the only value that they have to offer is this piece of skin in between their legs, and that something that's supposed to be so beautiful and soul binding like lovemaking is 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 bad, and that's why a man's going to want to marry you or not. I mean, I would sure hope my husband loves me for more than a hymen. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how much I'm allowed to say on here,
Say everything. No. Say what's on your mind.
but yeah, no. And then I also feel for men. I mean, growing up, the boys were also supposed to fit a certain role too. I mean, like, boys can't cry, for God's sakes. Like,
Yeah.
they can't be who they want to be sometimes. They can't be gay. They can't be emotional. They can't be sensitive. It just yeah, it's like there's too many things that we can't be just because of what's in between our legs, and I don't agree with any of that. So I would say it's a lot of poetry and inspiration, and I write about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you been writing for? Is it a new thing or you've been doing it for a
No,
while?
that's even longer than the yoga. That's
Really?
like, yeah, that's like ever since I've been in college.
Wow.
I would sit down and talk to my friends, girlfriends, guy friends, queer friends, straight friends, and they would tell me I've never felt so validated. Like, just to hear somebody tell me like, I accept you in this space, I take you as you are. um it's just like unconditional like love. And so like I just like was like, okay, well, if I can offer that support to people that I can't reach distance wise, I can like reach you, you might need it across the country, then I'll start writing content.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How often do you write? Do you kind of write on a set schedule or is it just when it comes to you?
When
Just
it
when it
comes to
pops
me,
in your
but that's
head?
like pretty often. It's almost like every day.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's hard for me. I think I made the shift of moving from a consumer to creating things maybe 2 years ago or a year ago. I started making music and I would set one day aside a week to make a song. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make one song every 2 weeks until I made 10 songs. And like I had to do that structure for myself in order to get into it. But it sounds like you were able to kind of just build the habit over time. Like it was important to you and then you just
it was
do it
like
on a high frequency.
it was like what I did with my morning coffee.
So it's like built into your day.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's like, yeah, it turned into it turns into like, it's almost like my form of like what I would call like um journaling. Like,
Yeah,
do people journal?
totally.
People journal. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get
People
this
do.
like
Cool
blended
people
in.
do. I wish I journaled.
Yeah, it's like journaling, but it helped other people want to read it for some reason. So
Yeah,
so I do it.
that's great. Do you share it or do you share
I
some of them
do.
or?
I do sometimes, and then but I'm anonymous
Mm,
because I don't want to do it. I don't like boasting about what I do. I see so many people, almost everybody likes to sort of like advertise what they do,
yep.
even when it's something that they're advertising that they're doing that for others. And I'm like, so then if you're advertising it, is it really for others?
Right.
Like,
It's not genuine.
It's for you at the end of the day. So I'm anonymous, and so I don't do it to get people to be like, I
Mm.
do it because I actually want to like help young girls and boys.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've always liked kids. I've been a nanny and a tutor since I was like 13. I became a kindergarten teacher at the worst time you could possibly become when COVID hit. I became a kindergarten teacher, and then COVID hit. So now we're back. I'm back to being um, an online tutor, and I've just always really loved kids. I don't know, it's just something in me.
Do you want to have kids someday?
Someday,
Yeah.
but
Do you have a
um,
number in mind of I want this many kids?
I used to want four.
Dang. Okay. Nice.
But I've been thinking actually lately, it's funny you asked because literally just like last week, I was talking to my friend and I was like, I think I could even adopt because
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people who like love kids as much as like I do. I've just like always loved kids. And I'm like, if there's a person made for like adopting, it should be someone like me, where it's like so easy for me to love a kid. It doesn't have to be mine,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I could probably adopt. I could probably really be fine with that. I could probably love it like it was like my own and we would have no problems. The kid would have no problems. And so I was actually thinking about that just last weekend.
That'd be awesome. I know. I didn't know if it was a weird question. I want 5 kids. I don't know why. That for some reason that number in my head. I want 5 kids and I want twins for some reason. Um,
That's so specific.
I know. I have such a specific model. It's funny. My ex-girlfriend, we dated for almost 3 years, and on our first date, I just came out of the gate swinging and was just volunteering all this. She was very quiet, and I was super nervous, so I was just rattling off of like, let me tell you everything about myself.
That's so
And that
cute.
was one of the first things I said. I was like, I want 5 kids, and she was like, whoa, that's a lot of kids.
She's like,
Yeah, but she found it funny, I guess. But yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it'd probably be
interesting.
expensive and crazy, but I don't know. I think kids are fun. Kids are probably like the coolest thing that people create, right?
It's your
Um,
biggest job too.
Biggest contribution to the world. Yeah.
Hmm.
Probably stressful too. Because I imagine from my parents, it's like I'm so different from my parents and probably in a lot of ways uncontrollable. Like you just unleash this thing in the world, you do your best job, and then it just goes and does its own thing. That must be kind of scary, um,
But rewarding.
but rewarding. Definitely rewarding. Yeah.
I had one of my girls, well, she was on the spectrum. Um, Not enough for her to have any sort of visible symptoms, but she had issues with her learning abilities.
Hmm.
And at the end of her year, her mom told me, she said, if it wasn't for you, my daughter would not have passed third grade. And you are the reason, like you changed her, like her life. You changed her life because she would have been a year back for the rest of her life. And that would have probably just the course, you never
Yeah.
know.
Different friends,
Yeah.
different self confidence,
Yeah.
everything.
She's just like, you literally just changed her life. And like, when I was like, I am doing something huge in a like human being's life. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's very rewarding.
Yeah, you can have a huge impact. I didn't bond with many of my teachers, right? If in my life I had, I don't know, 20,
What's
30
funny is I
teachers.
didn't really either.
Yeah. I think that's on the teachers, right? Cuz if you're a teacher like you are and you have this huge impact on a kid's life, that makes all the difference. I've had one or two. I don't know if you ever had Mr. Macrae in high school, but he was that for me, you know? Like I would be just stressed out about whatever, getting into college or
Yeah.
something related to soccer, and he would always notice, and we'd stick around after class and he'd just talk to me about life and give me tips and, just
I
kind
would
of a
say
pat on the
macro is the
back. Yeah.
closest I got to it too. I remember sometimes I wouldn't have food. Like I would forget my lunch because I was like running late or something. And if
Mm.
I forgot my lunch, I didn't have food, I didn't have a snack. He would give me food.
Wow.
Yeah, he would give me his snacks, or sometimes one time he bought me lunch. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say macro is probably the closest thing I had to, yeah, having like a friend and a teacher, sort of.
He's a good guy. Yeah, he genuinely cared, and a lot of people had that. My I don't know if you ever knew Nolan Mack, but he had a good relationship with him and Stefan, another one of my friends.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have kind of those stories about Mr. McRae, and it's yeah, if you can be a presence like that, like that made me more passionate about education because I kind of really didn't believe in education as being important until I, and it was weird because I don't even remember any learning anything from him in particular, but I just remember how he interacted with me and cared about me. That was like cool. It made me excited to go to his class and
Yeah.
pay attention. I got to see him recently. I played in we have this thing called Turkey Bowl, which is we go back and play a soccer game right after Thanksgiving. It's like the day after or something like that. And he
Oh,
was there. Yeah, he coaches the girls teams now. And I got to have a conversation with him
oh,
for
that's
a
so
while. And
cool.
so yeah, it was cool to reconnect with him and um, to see him. But yeah, so you teach? Is that what you do for
Um,
work or one of the
yeah,
things?
well, I'm a online tutor
Okay.
and some in-person tutors if their family is comfortable with it, given Corona.
Hmm.
Um, and I am also a personal stylist.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
How'd you get into
I
that?
love kids and fashion. Two random like why do I love those two things that have nothing to do with each other? But I love kids and I love everything styling, design. I do a lot of that in LA. I do a lot of
Okay.
styling and design and studio work. I actually right now I'm working I don't know if you've ever heard of the California Center for Digital Arts, but it's this,
Maybe. I know Cal Arts, but I don't know if that's what that is.
mm,
Probably something else. California Center for Digital Arts is what you said it was?
yeah.
I don't think I've heard of it.
It's this whole institution and it really helps you like follow your passion if you're like really into things like content creation and photography and
Cool.
styling and design. And
Yeah.
I've gotten the chance to work alongside amazing like photographers like Tony Corbell. He's photographed some of our presidents. Like,
Wow.
yeah, it's been really cool. So I'm just like honestly following like all of my passions and like I couldn't be happier.
Hmm. How fashion's awesome. I know very little about fashion. The extent of my understanding of fashion is stuff I look at Nike and I'll hear about Kanye
Here's
talking
what
about
I
certain
say.
things and
Here's what I say about it.
yeah.
I say we deserve to have autonomy over our own bodies, and that
Hmm.
includes the way we want to dress.
Hmm.
So don't let anybody tell you how you should be dressing. When I say I love fashion, I don't mean like, oh, stick with all the trends and like just do whatever everybody else is doing. And like, I mean, express yourself with your clothing and like unapologetically, because it is a form of self-expression. It really is. It's an art.
Hmm.
And I love being able to help people find out more about themselves when you help them pick out clothes that express themselves.
Hmm.
People will realize, like, oh, like I actually really like making a statement. And I'll be like, that's awesome that you know that about yourself. And some people will be like, you know, I really like clashing colors. I don't want to go ahead with like I don't like being told what to do. So I want to clash colors. And I'll be like, you just learned something about yourself. Like it's just
Right.
like it's a cool job. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, clothes are not just a utility, right? It's
Oh.
it's such a form of self-expression. Yeah.
Yeah, you deserve to decorate your body however makes you happy and like do it for you, not for anybody else. And like, yeah, being able to help people with that and encourage them because I know there's so many people who are like, what should I wear? What am I supposed to wear? And I'm like, bitch, wear whatever you want, girls and guys alike. And who cares what your body type is either? Wear whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like being able to do that for people. And yeah, hopefully one day you'll see my name.
Yeah. So
Style Guide.
I'd love that. I hope so. So people will come to you and they'll like, okay, I want a makeover or I want to, I don't know, change my wardrobe, and then you'll help them. Like you'll help them find something. You'll help them know where to look, things like that. Is that right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, because I have knowledge of brands and what different brands offer, right? So if somebody says, I feel like I just hate all my clothes. Like I feel like all my life I've just been wearing, that was me. For like a good portion of my life, I think I just wore what I would fit in with, or like what I thought everybody else around me was
Just
wearing.
non-offensive. Yeah.
And so many people are like, oh, like I just like don't, I'm sick of what I wear. And I'm like, you're missing out on a very cool part of life. Like if dressing got you excited. And yeah, so I'm knowledgeable about different brands. So, and then stores. And so I can direct people if they're like, I don't even know where to look for freaking, I want something more, I want to be more feminine. They're like, girls will be like, I need to channel my feminine side. And like, I don't even know where to begin because I've always just dressed, conservative or something like that. And I'll be like, let me help you. Or like a guy will be like, I want to dress more feminine. I've always felt like I need to dress this way and I want to dress like, and so since I have knowledge of brands and stores, I can direct them to the right places. And then a step further, I can help them with the shopping, and then I can help them with what, what makes them feel the most them in what they're wearing. And then also I think it's a little bit of like this emotional support,
Yeah.
Helping like a lot of my male clients wear, you'd be surprised how many men like want to wear jewelry, but they're like, oh, like guys are not. I'm like, guys are. There's no such thing as supposed to. You
Right.
can
Wear what you want.
wear all the jewels you want. Like, let me help you.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. You give them permission to be themselves.
yeah,
I like that. You help them be who they are. I think it's hard for people to do that without help. So that's cool that you can do that. And I bet it's more than just one outfit. It's more of maybe outlook transformation, right? Of how they think about clothing, how they think about themselves. Um, yeah, that's cool. I've been trying to do that more. I think for a couple years in high school, I was super into, I don't know, what I wore and doing that. And then I think for a while, for a couple years, I just didn't care. I was like, okay, like clothing is a utility kind of mindset. And then just recently, I've had kind of more time to think about it, and it's been fun to kind of find shoes and pants and shirts and so on that I really like, and brands that I
I saw
like,
your
and caring
story
about
today.
that.
It was like
Oh
drip came
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. I just got my Air Max 97s. Yeah,
Yeah, that's so cool.
that's my style. I don't know too much about the high fashion stuff. It's like,
Oh, I don't do no, I don't
yeah.
do high fashion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I don't even do high fashion. I help because everyday people deserve to wear what they want too.
Yeah.
I was just kidding when I said maybe one day you'll see my name. It's just because like I
No.
love clothes. I'm like, I'll be a fashion stylist. But
Do you
no,
like do
yeah.
you like do you do any like designing of your own clothes, or do you more like to curate?
So yeah, that's so interesting. When I got into this, I realized how those are such different things.
Hmm.
And I would definitely say I'm on the like later end of the production line, right? So there's like the earlier stages of production where it's like you literally are working
Idea in
with
your
like,
head. Yeah.
right, like fabrics and textiles, and you're actually piecing stuff together. Totally. I would say I'm later in the production line. I'm definitely well, no, actually I do some I do tailoring and patchwork, but yeah, I do more of like the styling, and then I also do some content creation for some clients.
Mm.
And so like
What does that mean? Like you photograph them or
yeah, so
do
since I'm
photo
good,
shoots or?
yeah. So it's like you can style a model um or model it yourself. I've done both. And then it's not just about, the styling, it's now like then what background would that look good with? And the light, the angles and the lighting that would make the model wearing those clothes, wearing those earrings, wearing that hairstyle do it the most justice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then there's more. And then there's editing that photo, and then there's healing that photo, and then that's called like content creation, right? Because you have put together material, put it in the right lighting, put it with the right background, have the model doing the right sort of the
pose and
vibe. It's all
yeah.
about vibes. It's all about the aesthetic of it. And then then that's the message of the brand.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
super cool because
Yeah.
that sounds like pure creation. You know, it's like you're creating something out of nothing. Like
Yeah.
even at even at that end of the line, you know, like it doesn't have to be from the very beginning. I think it's because like no one would think to match that person with that shirt, with that background, with that vibe, you know, like with that pose. It's like something
Yeah.
out of that wouldn't have existed before, you know. And then when
Yeah.
you capture that, it must be super cool, right? And satisfying.
It definitely is. It's definitely the ability to like, look at a skirt and be like, okay, this skirt belongs to be in a bed of roses. Like
Mm.
in a field of
Literally, so your
flowers.
head like literally thinks like that. You'll see something and you'd be like, "This is where." Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome. That's
Yeah. Or
amazing.
like these shoes need to be propped up. Like she's gonna be in the bathtub and her heels are gonna be like hanging. Like
Oh my gosh,
it is creation. It is cool to yeah, it is
you
creation.
gotta let me shout out one of these photo shoots. Like that would be so cool to see.
Okay. I would
That'd
love
be
that's so
amazing.
sweet of you. I would love that. Yeah. Shout out me.
Shout out. No,
I'm bad at like advertising myself. Like I need to get better at that because it's like I know I have a lot to offer, but I'm just so weird about being like, look at what I did, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
But we'll see.
It's
I'll work on
scary.
it.
I know. I've been kind of shameless about that, like with my podcast, and like I've done it with music in the past, like kind of
That's
just trying to
good.
put myself out there, you know.
That's
But
good.
it's kind of cringy at first. But yeah, you get good things. Like I get to talk to you now, you know, because I kind of put myself out there. So
And
good
you
things
know
come with
what?
it.
And we deserve to be proud of the hard work
Yeah.
that we put in, and we also deserve to share our passion. So like I want to be more like you. Like I want to be more
Thank you.
like look at what I can like people I want to share. I want to share things I love. I want to share what I'm excited about. Look at what I put my blood and sweat into, you know?
Yeah. And I love that you say, okay, you're gonna see my name, like, you know, in the gold letters. Like I
Yeah.
I love it when people say what they want to do or what they believe in themselves to be able to do. You know, I think that's cool. I think too often people try and level themselves or they don't want to dream. But I think it's important to dream and dream out loud and people respond well to that, you know. I mean, I think unhappy people will try and put you in your place or whatever. But I think that's their own baggage. But I think cool people who generally want to, you know, who are happy, want to see other people be happy and do cool things and be creative. So
Oh,
it helps a lot, I think. Yeah.
I've had people tell me like what I do is like not a job. Like I've had people tell me that being a teacher and a stylist are not real jobs. Like
Hmm.
what? Like how are those not real jobs? I'm literally providing a service for someone just like because it's not
Not a traditional job.
like a corporate, I guess.
Yeah.
Both of those things that like have passions for are not corporate jobs, but since when is a corporate job the only type of real job out there, you know?
Right.
So, yeah. But that's why I wanted to come on this because I think it's so cool that you're like, this is what I'm doing. And I want to do it because for myself, like, because I want to. And like,
Yeah.
that's totally like what I live by. So I'm happy to support you. I want to come back.
Thank you. Yeah, come back. You know, I was getting emotional the other day because I was recording. So this is episode 5. When I was recording episode 4, I was having a really great conversation with my friend Tyler. So like I don't know, as an adult, I've had a hard time finding like in high school I had a great friend group, but since then I've just had a hard time finding a like great consistent friend group. And I have great friends, but they're all around. So I guess I just haven't found like that group locally that I hang out with because I, you know, started OC, went to Slow, then went to the Bay, and then kind of just have been bouncing around a lot. But anyway, I met this guy Tyler here, um, in Claremont where I live now, and like he introduced me to all these other friends, and like now I started making a friend group, and we just had this cool conversation about like how people make friends and how he's been able, like he's a great friend maker, or he's great at building friend groups and initiating plans, things like that. And we just had this like cool, rich conversation anyway, big tangent. But like midway through the conversation, my computer dies. I was an idiot and I forgot to plug it in. And
Oh, that reminds me.
I was so, oh no,
We're good.
I know. I was like, oh
I was
no.
like, oh, I didn't check my battery.
But and so I lost the audio from the conversation. So, which sucked. And I was so bummed. But then it made me realize like how kind of cool podcasting is. Cause it's, I put this on my story. It's like, it's kind of like a time capsule. It's capturing who you are at one moment in time. And it's like, that's what I like about it. So I hope you come on in the future and we can play this back, at some point and see who were we on February 17th, 2022. Because it's cool.
Oh,
It's
I
just
would
like
love that.
it changes. And I listened back to an episode of myself. I was on someone else's podcast like a year and a half ago, and I listened to it the other day, and it was cool because I was so hyped at that moment. Like I was so bullish on myself. I was so confident. I was talking about all the things I was going to do. I was talking about like my schedule. And I just like right now, I don't feel like that. Like I don't feel like I'm on top of my game and I'm like killing it and I'm the best version of me. Like I kind of feel like I'm getting back there. But it was just so cool to hear myself in that. I'm like, yeah, I am that person, like that when I'm in my best state, like I'm like that.
I am
like,
that bitch.
yeah, I am that bitch,
I
so
am that bitch. Yeah.
it
Oh my
was
God,
funny. It
this
was
is
cool
the
to hear.
background. This is the background of my phone right now, and I want to tell you, literally my phone, I don't know if I have it on me, but it's literally like it's a picture of all the phases of the moon, and it says the moon is always full. She's always whole, even if her full self isn't visible. And
I love
that quote means like the world to me because it's like what you just said. It's like you don't feel on the top of your game right now, but that doesn't mean like it's not in there. I mean, you're still full, but we go through phases in life, and sometimes not our whole self isn't visible, but it doesn't mean we've lost anything. Like you're still that bitch. You just, some of it's sleeping or whatever.
It's just not a full moon right
It's
now.
just not a full moon. Exactly. And it will be again. I mean, we have phases in life. And so it's just not a full moon right now, but that doesn't mean you're not whole. It's just not showing up right now.
I love that. That should be my phone background.
I'll send it to you.
It's a good reminder.
It is.
Yeah.
I think we're really hard on ourselves as like people.
Definitely.
We're so strict with ourselves. Like we don't even let ourselves like make mistakes. We're always expecting ourselves to be on our A game all the time. And that's just not the human existence. Like you can't possibly be like on top of your shit all the fucking time. So yeah, I think that's, I'll send it to you. I think it's like a really, really beautiful quote.
I guess, yeah, that's an interesting idea. When do you feel like fully yourself? When do you feel like fully Sofia, like the best version of you? Can you point at like times in your week or just times you remember in your life? When you're dancing? Like dancing with your friends or?
Yeah.
No way.
Have you ever had that feeling where you're just like, I can't see anyone else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care.
You're not self-conscious.
Yeah. You're just like, I am just unapologetically me right now. I'm going to move my body. I'm going to say what I want. I'm going to go where I want. Like you don't even notice anybody else, and you don't even care if they notice you or not. You're just like existing.
That's I've only had that feeling a couple times.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess in a social situation.
Come out with me.
I will. That sounds fun.
Come out with me.
I know. I feel like it's hard. I always have to, I don't know. I feel like the times I have had that, alcohol was definitely involved, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, I think in being with the right, maybe it's a similar moment for me, but just being around people who allow you to feel like that, where you can kind of get lost with and like enjoy those moments where time feels like it's flying.
Try dancing alone. Try just like, who cares? Like try just like letting go and like, sometimes I feel my most self too when I'm doing my yoga. I'd say so like whenever I'm moving my body. I do yoga at the beach a lot. I'm always at the beach. And I would say that's definitely when I feel like my most self is like
Hmm.
when I'm at the beach and I'm just like connecting with my whole body and my whole mind. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think I feel my most myself. I talked about making music. I think the times I've felt most myself was when I was like in the flow, when I was in the zone making
Mm-hmm.
something. And I never made great music, but it was just cool because I had a good mindset of like it doesn't matter if it's good to other people. It's just if I enjoy listening to it, then it's good. Like that's my benchmark. And so it was so fun. Like once I was able to, I think the biggest thing with making music was I had to kind of get over myself and just stop judging myself and to put something out there and being able to get there. So it's kind of a similar feeling you were talking about, like dancing and just maybe you're in like the zone in that moment. Like you feel good. You're not questioning yourself. You're just experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's very, I don't know, visceral. It's just super rich. I always like the feeling for usually I'm very anxious and I feel like I'm behind and I'm missing something and I botched something or I'm doing something wrong and you know whatever boogeyman's coming to get me. But like when I'm in that flow state when I'm creating something and I it feels good and you know I'm enjoying it, it feels like the world kind of sits still. Like I'm at the center of it, not in an ego way, but just that like I don't need to be somewhere else. I don't need to be with someone. I don't need to do something else. I'm not missing the boat on something. It's just like that's what I should be doing in that moment. Like that's the best feeling in the world. I've only had it handful of times, maybe like less than 10 times, but when I have, it's so cool. Yeah.
That's so cool that you explained it like that too. You're like, you feel like this is where like, you don't need to be anywhere else. Like, it's like
Yeah.
totally where you're, I don't want to get all, I don't want to get too like spiritual on you or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
some of us yogis say you are the universe experiencing itself.
Mm.
So it's like you are just a portion of the universe, right? Because the universe is just a bunch of us living this life. So you're just a portion of it living itself. Like it's, yeah, it's like, where else were you supposed to be then? Because you're just, we're all, it's really a hard concept to grasp, but we're all just floating on this rock, right? And
Yeah.
so,
It gives you some perspective.
yeah, you're just, where else is better than where you are right now as long as you're making the most of it, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's
Definitely.
really cool what you said too. You're like, yeah, it's a time where I'm not thinking, I'm just experiencing.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, like the coolest way to explain it because that's definitely, I'd say, what it is. It's like being so grounded that you're not like double checking or like contemplating. You're literally just sensing, you're literally just experiencing. And that's living. And that's, I think, why we feel our most selves then because we're just living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, someday if I ever write a book, I would like, I hope down the line I can figure out how to, like, how to maximize getting that feeling and put myself in situations. There's definitely some kind of, I don't know if there's a formula, but there's definitely things I could do to, to get that for
Right.
myself, you know, and to get back there. But yeah, that'd be fun to, no, yeah, you're making me want to take a yoga class. I did a couple classes in college. But yeah, do you usually like go do classes or do you practice by yourself?
No, that's what I was gonna say is I do it alone.
Mm.
Because I when you do classes, you follow the instructor, right?
Hmm.
And I don't really like to do that because I think if you're really just experiencing, right? Then like you what are the odds you are ready to change positions or what are the
Right at the
odds
moment
that
that they tell you to.
yeah, like what if I wanted and my body needed to spend a few more minutes in that position, you know? And when you follow a teacher, it's like, okay, now switch that. And it's like, no, because I'm doing this just to sort of flow with my own body. And some days I want to go slower, some days I want to go faster. So it's just like a very personal thing. So I do it alone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Um, how did you learn to do the different poses? Do you have an app, or do you kind of just, you've
No,
taken
I
classes in the
used to go to
past?
classes. I used to.
Okay, so you know enough to where you can have a routine for yourself. Do you write it out beforehand, or
Mm-mm.
think you just kind of go with
Yeah.
what feels good?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm always learning about new yoga positions and new yoga poses and how they do different things for the body. Um, and I'll practice them. But after a while, it really just becomes sort of like muscle memory, you
Hmm.
know?
Like you know what to
Like,
do next.
yeah, like a runner, just start, or like a person who goes to the gym and lifts weights. Like they don't need to remember how to do a rep. They just know how to do the rep after a while, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
stuff like that.
I took yoga classes at my one of my previous jobs. We had a yoga teacher who would come in a couple of times a week, and I would do
Yeah.
it just once a week. And I was super bad at it because I'm not flexible. But yeah, I was surprised as to the meditation aspect of it. Like I actually enjoyed that much more because I
Yeah.
never had, my mind was always just racing 800 or 8,000 RPMs, kind of just like running full steam, and it's so exhausting. And like I didn't realize the toll that took on me until I started doing yoga, and like pretty much almost entirely for the I think the meditative aspect of it. But yeah, I love how those are two things hand in hand, because I think the physical and that mental is what makes yoga really awesome,
Yeah.
as like a daily or even weekly. For me, weekly did the trick, where it kind of just was a good reset grounding. Um, yeah, and it was always weird thinking like one week to the next was like, man, just like all the craziness that's gone in my head between the last time I was staring at the ceiling and this time I'm staring at the ceiling. And it was like, I don't know, it helped me to kind of realize what I think what you were mentioning before is like, oh, I beat myself up a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, yoga's yoga's awesome. I need to get back into it.
Yeah,
Um,
it is. It's very beautiful. Yeah, it definitely helps me get out of my head too.
mm,
And I think we need more of that nowadays.
definitely. Do you do any other kinds of exercises, or yoga is like the main? Um,
I would say yoga is the main. Sometimes
yeah.
I cycle. Sometimes I do spin classes.
Oh, nice. I love spin classes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are a lot of fun, huh?
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
so
those are
tough.
fun. And I do those too. But not lately because it's been like hurting my joints.
Mm.
I'm getting old.
Ah, get out of here. I
I
know.
know, but I am, I guess. I don't know. Like, why is it hurting? Why,
Yeah.
why am I cracking? Like my knees like popping.
Oh.
But I'm in my
Oh my gosh.
20s. Like, why am I cracking?
Yeah. Yeah. I started doing CrossFit like 5 months ago. I hadn't worked out in a lot. Was athletic in high school and played soccer and tennis
Mhm.
and stuff, but then started gaining too much weight, was too sluggish. So when I moved here, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go balls to the wall and do CrossFit, and it's been awesome. If you ever want to try it, you should come do a class sometime. I think what I like about it is when I was in the gym, I was just, I don't know, kind of slugging around and not really making progress, but something nice about CrossFit is that like it's that group accountability, right? It's like I go in at 5:30 after work and I do it for an hour. And then there's like a set plan, and then you go do it, and you have all these other people who are doing it alongside of you, so you can't really like not do it. Or at least your brain won't let you not do it, right? It's like
Yeah.
and so yeah, I love that. And it's cool cuz they adapt all of the workouts to like, I in the beginning I couldn't do proper push-ups, so they adapted it for me. And I'm still working on pull-ups, so they kind of adapt it for me. And like you can't do some of the complex movements, so they just make it so you can do it. And yeah, that's been good for me. I think like exercise is one of those, or CrossFit has been one of those things that's like a good, it's almost meditative in that like when I'm doing that, I get into a little bit of a flow state because it feels good, and it feels like my brain is just focused on that one thing because it's so hard for that hour that I get a little bit of that flow state feeling where I'm like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. But it sucks every day. But I don't know, doing something that sucks a little bit every day I think it's good because if I don't do it, I'm, going to beat myself up. So the feeling after is so much better. I'm like, okay, I was productive today. I did something that was
Yeah.
challenging.
Well,
Yeah.
and you mean by like doing something that sucks, you mean like the trek up the hill where it feels
Yes,
really good once you get over.
exactly. Challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree. I think that that's part of like human nature is like wanting to overcome challenges, like accomplishing things is important to us.
Definitely.
So I definitely think that that's like essential for people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yoga is hard. Yoga's like incredibly hard. When I took those classes, I was blown away by
Yeah.
how strong people are to be able to do those
People think
poses
it's
and
just like
plank.
stretching.
No, it's incredibly difficult. Like, yoga and Pilates is like,
Hmm.
and you have to be so flexible. It's like, it's amazing. Actually, a lot of the CrossFit people do yoga because CrossFit can make you very not flexible because you're doing all these like Olympic weightlifting things, and so you lose a lot of the flexibility, or at least I have. And so, but yoga helps to keep you very flexible. Yeah,
Cool.
stretching. So it's a
I
good
didn't
kind
know
of,
that.
yeah, it's a good yin and yang, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
combo.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Um, okay, so when you're like totally killing time, not being productive, not being a badass in the fashion world, like what do you do to kill the time? Like I'm talking music, like maybe like TV shows. Like what kind of TV shows do you watch if you're into that?
Okay, I swear I'm not making this up because it
Yeah.
makes me sound like I think I'm like this like,
No, no, no.
but I don't really like TV.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
Like
no. I'm gonna have to get you into TV.
I've never been much of a movie or TV person.
Really?
And yeah,
Okay.
and ask any of my friends or ex-boyfriends
This is like
if
whole life.
if I'm watching, I'm annoying. I'm like asking questions and like turning to them and I'm like, why did he do that? Why do you think like I can't shut up.
That's so funny.
And so like yeah, ask anyone. I'm really annoying to like watch things with.
Yeah.
And I've learned like, yeah, I guess I just like don't really like watching. I would rather be like engaging.
Mm. I can
So
see
like,
that. I can see that because you can't talk really while you're doing it, or else it's annoying to the other person, right? If
yeah,
they're,
and
especially if
like,
they're into it.
so I'm more into like things that are like engaging,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what kind of things? What kind of things are you into?
Um, I go to the beach a lot.
Mm.
I go to the beach a lot, probably more than I'm supposed to because we're all supposed to be protecting our skin from the sun.
Yeah.
And it's like if you spend this many hours in the sun, you're gonna get skin cancer. So I guess I'm gonna get skin cancer.
It's okay. You're gonna have more fun than everyone else, though.
Yeah, well, I'm at the beach a lot and I'm doing things with my dog a lot. When I'm really just like not being productive, like whatsoever,
Yeah. You're just enjoying life.
my dog and I are doing something. Yeah.
Hmm.
My dog and I are at the beach, or my dog and I are at the park, or my dog and I are just like, yeah, and I'm just like listening to music, watching him run. Like that's literally what I like to like do. Or just
That's
hang out with
awesome.
friends, I guess.
Yeah.
Or sleep.
Sleeping is always good. Do you sleep
I
well?
love I'm such a sleepy girl. Like I'm such
Really?
a yeah, I could get a full night's sleep and nap and then get a full night's sleep and nap and still be tired. Like, you know, some people are like, "Oh, if I nap, I can't go to bed tonight or something." I'm like,
That's amazing. Do you
I
think your
can
stress levels are generally low? I think that could only be,
no.
you think your stress levels are high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, so not stress. I wouldn't define what I experience as like stress. I think
Hmm.
so well, I have anxiety in my family. Like it like runs down my grandma, my mom,
Hmm.
my cousins, like anxiety is just in our family. And so it's really interesting when people ask me like how do you feel about like stress because I actually wouldn't even define this as stress. It's just like anxiety. Like I'm like I am always worried something's going to happen to my loved ones or me. Um and I think it's that anxiousness that I struggle with.
Mm. But you're
Yeah.
able to turn it off and you're able to get sleep somehow.
Yeah. I am able to turn off and get sleep. It's the yoga.
It's the yoga. Yeah. Because that's the thing. I think everyone does definitely experience stress. Like some people are more stressed themselves out or they're actually in stressful situations. Like I have a horrible sleep cycle. Like I typically go to bed at 2 and wake up at 8. So I probably, I mean, get like 5 to 6 hours during the week. Is that bad? And
I
then,
would be a monster.
yeah, no, I'm like, I'm not useful for the first 2 hours of the day. And then I kick it in high gear. But
If I don't get enough sleep, I'm like
grouchy.
not a person.
No, but when I sometimes I go to bed at 8:30 and I wake up at whatever 5 and I feel amazing because I'm like, okay, I just got whatever hours of sleep, 8 hours
Mhm.
or 9 hours.
Mhm.
And when I do that, I feel like a superhuman. So I'm like, okay, that's like the average amount of sleep that I should be
Yeah.
getting, and I feel like a superhuman. So maybe I should do that. But yeah, that's my normal sleep cycle. Is I'll usually get 5 to 6 hours Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday I'll sleep like 12 hours, and I'll catch up. I'll pay the sleep debt back on one day. But I would probably be much better off sleeping a lot, like you do. Like what time do you usually go to bed?
Maybe like 11.
Okay, that's really good. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then you
it's
get up
gotten better for
around like
sure. It wasn't
7.
like that in college.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah,
It wasn't like that in college at all.
yeah, yeah. And then you wake up pretty early.
Um, you're gonna laugh. I probably need like 10 hours of sleep a night.
Dang, goals.
I
I wish I
really
could do that.
need my freaking.
So when you wake up, do you feel just amazing? And you're like, does your body not resist it? Or are you super sluggish? I feel like when I get that much sleep, I'm up. I'm like, I want to go, but
It's to me, it's like not that much.
really.
That's the thing. I mean it.
So
I'm
wait,
a
that's like
sleepy.
11 p.m. to 9 a.m. That's a long ass time to be
I'm like a
asleep.
sleepy girl. Like that's what I need. Like
Dang.
to be a person. I know, and it sucks, huh? Because I've met people who can totally operate on like 5 hours, and I'm like, you're gonna get way more ahead in life than me because I have to spend so much of my time asleep, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah,
And
but
like you can work.
yeah, I would definitely be more productive if I slept like you because I think I'm up more, but I definitely don't fill those hours. Like the last 5 hours are just useless.
Oh,
The first
really?
2 hours are just useless. Yeah.
Oh,
So like I think you probably like the time you're up, you're probably high energy, right? And you feel good during the time you're up, or
yeah, I would say so.
generally. Yeah.
I'm like how I am right now, which is
Yeah.
pretty like, yeah, I've been told I'm high energy. I think I am
Definitely.
high energy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Would you say you're? This is, I guess, a very generic question, but like, would you say that you're extroverted? Yes, right? I don't know because I don't know how you interact with other people. Okay, so I think the generic definition is you recharge spending time with people. That's true with you.
I just like, I love people. Like,
Hmm.
I do. I just like love people. I want to talk to you. I want to hear about you. I want to stay in touch with you. Like, I want to hang out with you. Like, I love people. I love meeting new people. I love getting to know people. I love it sounds like I'm like making this all up.
No,
Well,
no.
no, like it sounds like I'm being dramatic. But yeah, and then yeah, I if I'm alone for too long, I like I don't I get sad.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
I don't really like I don't really benefit too much from being reclusive. Now, granted, I do like my time with myself, like my yoga and my time with my dog, like at the beach, totally. But if I go days without like interacting with somebody that I care about, I get very um, low energy.
Hmm.
Yeah. People
Y-
give me energy, which is, I think, the opposite of introverts, where like they get drained if they're with
Yeah,
too many people. Right. Yeah. So I'm definitely extroverted.
yeah. I think it's interesting, and it's funny that it's a binary, right? That people are
Mhm.
like, okay, you're extroverted, introverted, because like even someone like you who's probably far on the extroverted scale, like you still need that time with your dog, or you need time
Oh,
alone to
yeah.
write,
Everything's
and
a spectrum.
right, yeah.
everything is on a spectrum for sure. You're
Yeah,
not, no one's ever fully one thing or the other. I think it's just very simple for people to have binaries because it's like the brain wants to compartmentalize. So that's like an
totally.
easier way to like
Label
grasp.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're always looking to classify things and easily label them.
Yeah.
Um,
You know it.
no, it is like I know I've definitely swung on the extrovert introverts spectrum because in high school so extroverted, spent every moment of my day with people, and then college, early adult kind of was much more wanted to spend time by myself for some reason, like a lot of time. But then I realized that made me weird because I wasn't getting that energy boost from other people and getting motivated and I don't know, playing an important role in their lives and helping them out and just like that fulfillment that comes with that. So it's definitely, yeah, I've definitely swung on both sides and I'm trying to find a good balance. But I think swinging back to more extroverted is where I naturally feel better, I think.
Mm.
But yeah, it's definitely a balance. Definitely
Well,
a
like we
spectrum.
talked about before, there's phases.
Yeah.
Maybe you just go through your phases, some of your extroverted phases, and then you're going through your introverted phases.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I think extroverts, it's the awesome part that we get is we get tons of rich experiences, right? Like we get to meet people that like maybe introverts would not get to meet. I don't know, maybe people are more likely to hit us up to go do things and stay in contact with us. Um, but yeah, I guess there is also a nice side to introverts. Like you get a lot of deep thinking time. Like you get to reflect. You get to maybe I don't know spend a ton of time reading and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I guess there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, totally. And I think that's why it's always really important to have balance in life,
yeah.
because since there's so many benefits from both, it's good to just have a really healthy balance. Like it's really not good to always be with other people and never have a relationship with yourself. But then it's also really not good to ever like to never get out there and learn about other people and like what life could be like for people different from you. I know we actually started this conversation with like the like differences between like high school and now and how we see things. And I think one of the biggest differences is just sort of, I don't know, seeing how many different ways there is of living and seeing the different cards people have been dealt. And God, I have recognized like so much of my privilege having met new people, just understanding like how much I was just given and how much
Hmm.
so many people from like where I'm from, where we're from, were just like handed things. And that's why I'm like super passionate about like those people that are trying really hard to like make it on their own trail, and like not just have everything that they've ever had handed to them, if that makes sense. Because I think I could have had that, but I chose not to. Like I chose to blaze my own, and not a lot of people do that from where we're from.
Definitely. I think that's super cool that you're doing that. That's my big critique of people from Orange County is that they're not gritty. They're not resourceful. Like
They're
they
just
don't
handed everything.
they're handed everything. Yeah. And it's like there's just a level of obtuseness or like just having no clue of like what it takes to go and forge a new path and try something and fail and
Or
all
no
these things for
clue of
yourself.
no
Yeah.
clue of like these struggles that other
Right.
people are facing. And
Right.
and really no respect for like another way of thinking.
Yeah. A closed-mindedness. Definitely.
Yeah, and then acting on it too. I mean, I noticed so much like ostracizing those who are different from them or have been raised different, or ostracizing people who don't share your religion,
Yeah.
um is so common where we're from. And it's just like
It's fucked up.
that's not like what I want to be. That's not who I want to be. And that's the thing too, is like I'm not going to even judge the people who ostracize. I'm not even gonna, because then I'd
Yeah.
be a hypocrite. I'm not even gonna judge the people who are judgmental. I even understand why you're judgmental because it's easier that way. It's safer. It's safer to stick with your little bubble and
Yeah.
stick with your community and stay with what you know because the unknown is scary. So like I really, really, when I say I don't judge, I really don't judge. I don't even judge the people who are judgmental because it's like I even get why you want me to believe what you believe because it makes you feel safe.
Right. You don't have to question your own assumptions and your own,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so like everyone's just trying to survive. Everyone's just trying to make it, And everyone's just trying to be happy. And if like if you want to be like the definition of what, you know, society says a man or a woman should be and you're genuinely happy that way, fucking do it. I'm not like the type of person who's like, oh, you want to be a housewife? Like, have some respect. No,
Yeah.
bitch, if you want to be a housewife, go be a fucking housewife. Like, an empowered woman is just a woman that's doing whatever the fuck she wants. Like, she could be wearing a hijab and covering everything down to her ankles for God because that's what she believes in. And that's an empowered woman. Like, I'd be
Hmm.
like, pop off. Or she could be like, breasts out at the club. And I'd be like, that's also an empowered woman. Pop off. Like,
Yeah.
whatever makes you feel strong is what you should do.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I love that.
And I think a lot of people who talk like me and who are like, you know, try to support men and women and try to help people sort of like be who they are, you would assume that I'm like this, like against anything societal normie. No, not at all. Like I'm a girl. I love loving pink. I love being girly. And if you want to be a guy and you really don't like crying and you really don't like emotions,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, like as long as you're being yourself, you know.
Yeah, that's a unique that you have a unique standpoint there. I agree with you. I think um, most people who share some of those viewpoints as you do, like do what you want, are against some of the kind of standardized
But then
ways
they're
of
just
being.
as bad.
Right. It is. It
then
is.
they're
It's hypocritical.
mhm. Then
Um,
they're just as
if
bad
you
as
judge
the
certain ones and you
yeah,
promote
because
other ones, yeah,
exactly,
you're just on
because
the
they're
other
there
side of the
going,
spectrum.
they're there
Yeah.
going, oh, don't let other people tell you how to be, and then they're turning around and they're being like, so don't be like that. It's like, no, 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 no. Like that's hypocritical as fuck, dude. Like
Yeah.
really let people be who they want to be. Really. Who cares what side? Who cares if it's norm or not? If it's just who you want to be. If you want to be a girly girl, if you want to be a tomboy, if you want to be a manly man, or if you want to be an emotional, femboy, either one, as long as you're just being who you want to be, there's literally no harm in following societal roles. It's only a harm when it makes somebody do something that they don't want to do if they didn't other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like totally where I come from. And
I love that. I think that you're coming from a place of love. Like you want people to be who they are, and you
oh,
want them to be
totally,
comfortable in that.
totally. Like
Yeah.
love is like my what you would call like religion. Because my dad is American, my mom is Persian. So um I've had this privilege of perspective.
Mm.
And like, it's so interesting because a lot of my high school experience was, you know, accept God, Jesus as your Lord and Savior. And at the age of like, the ripe age of like 13, I was met with the I was like basically I realized that whichever religion I picked, I was damning the other grandma to hell.
Yeah.
Like 13 years old, if I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and that he was the Son of God, and I need to accept him into my heart to be accepted into heaven, then I'm damning one grandma to hell. If I accepted that Muhammad is the true prophet and Muhammad is the true, you know, leader of God's children in order to get into heaven with Allah, then I'm literally damning the other grandma to hell,
Yeah.
because that's how you get into heaven, those two ways. And at like 13, I was like, I don't want to damn anyone to hell. And then what about the other billions of people who Hindu, I don't know,
Buddhism,
Jewish,
whatever. Yeah.
Buddhist? I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to say this is it, because I believe it's about love. It's about, I mean, when we die, our souls end up with what they love. We gravitate towards love. I think we're made of love. Whenever I'm met with like a question that's like, oh, how should I act in this situation? I'm unclear about it. It's like, love is so cheesy. I'm being so cheesy.
No, you're not.
I am.
No. Love is the ultimate.
It's the compass. It's my compass. It's it that. So yeah, and I truly mean that. I don't sit back and act. I don't tell Christians, you know, you're wrong. I don't tell Muslims, you're wrong. I'm literally like, no, if it brings you joy, as long as you're not hurting yourself or others, like, I love you too. Like, it's like, just be yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Be yourself. I love that. Something I should tell myself more often, you know?
Call me whenever.
We're going to have matching phone backgrounds.
Maybe I'll send you my anonymous little book.
Oh, yeah. I would love that. I would love that.
It's all like this. Cheesy.
Oh, it's not cheesy at all. It's in order to confront who we are, you have to be cheesy, I think, right? And to get to the kind of the rawest nuts and bolts of who we are, you have to be cheesy, and you have to talk about love, you have to talk about fear. And there's no way to do that in a way that's not cheesy. It's just like clearing the edge of cheesiness and that you have to get through, I think.
But it's truth.
And then it's truth. Yeah. Once you get over that, it's and it's worth getting over that edge, I think. Yeah. You talked a lot, and let me know if you have if you're at time or you're feeling tired at any point. We've already been going for an hour. I only have like a couple more. We've been going for like an hour and a half actually. Yeah. I know, time flies, right? Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun.
I know, I'm enjoying it.
Me too.
But let me know, because I want to be, you know, respectful of your time and make sure. And I know you need your sleep. But who is someone who you personally know who's influenced you, and like why and how have they influenced you? Doesn't have to be the person, but just one person who comes to mind.
This sounds so generic, but like dead ass, my mom. Okay, because my mom was born and raised in Iran. Okay, and she had to bury the books she was reading in her backyard so that she wouldn't get arrested. Like after the revolution, well, so a lot of people actually have a misconception. Iran actually used to be very free. When my mom was growing up, it was really a lot like here. She didn't have to cover her hair. You could practice any religion you wanted. It wasn't like the way it is now. When my mom was a teenager, the current extremist regime that's in power now overthrew the government.
Gotcha.
Okay. So
that's when the culture changed.
Yes, some Islamic extremists overthrew the government and now run it as a complete I don't know, just like, yeah, it's like almost tyrannical. Like it's just like,
I think that's definitely the right word. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she grew up with freedoms and like exposures to different ideas and different cultures. I mean, and then that was taken away from her. So it's almost like if that happened to us now.
I
And
can't imagine that.
right. And so she but she is like she's the most like stubborn woman I know, which is why I'm so stubborn. And like I know it's generic, but it really is like my mom. Like she's a fucking badass. So she refused to throw out her books that had all these like feminists and like open progressive ideas in it when the Islamic Republic of Iran or whatever took over. So she buried them in the backyard so she didn't have to throw them away. And she never
That's
stopped
awesome.
protesting in the streets up until the very day her best friend was murdered. And
Wow.
my grandpa put her on an airplane and just shipped her out of the country. And at age 20, she went to France with nothing but a backpack and a passport. And
Wow.
somehow she's now here running an office, married, kids. Like
Yeah. That's
that is
amazing.
like so fucking cool to me because she's like, I
Mm.
always knew my right to live. And she was like, I would never let someone scare me. I'd rather die than let someone scare me into living the way they wanted me to live. And I think that's why I'm a lot of the way I am.
Hmm.
And it really is my mom.
That's cool. That gives me chills. No, it's yeah, I can see why you take after your mom. It's like she literally questioned the assumptions when it was like life or death kind of stakes, right? It's
Literally.
yeah. And
She's like, I'd
she's a huge
literally rather
success
give
story.
it my life than agree with you that everyone has to be a certain way. Like, no, she's just like believes in freedom. And I mean, to even imagine that. Like, imagine she graduated high school and they said, no, you can't have your diploma. Come to this random, everyone was mailed their diploma. And then they told her, because she was outspoken about
Hmm.
how this government was tyrannical and they needed to get out. And so she graduates high school and they go, we don't want to give you your diploma. Come to this address. It's some random warehouse address. Her best friend had just gone missing 2 days before.
Oh gosh.
And my grandpa saved her life, was smarter than that, was like, nope, you're not getting a high school diploma. I'm sorry. You're going to have to find it somewhere else. Puts her on a plane, ships her out like overnight. And that's true. My mom had to then go get those GE credits somewhere else.
Wow.
Um, because the government wouldn't give her her diploma unless she showed up at this place because they wanted to shut her up.
Dang. Smart decision by your grandpa to get her
I
out,
know.
you know?
And
It's
you
scary.
see, that's why, like, I think immigrant families are so close because we've all just like been through so much. And that's why I do spend such a huge chunk and proportion of my adult life taking care of my family and like giving back to my grandpa because my grandpa saved us, is the
Mm.
reason we're here, sacrificed a lot, you know?
Hmm.
And so I don't ever take that for granted. I'm never going to be one of those kids who take that for granted. So I know I'm young and I'm supposed to be blah, 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 but like, no, like I do not mind taking time out of my adult life to go and care for my elderly grandpa.
Yeah.
He, yeah.
Wait, so is this the grandpa that you take care of sometimes that you were just talking about? No
Mm-hmm.
way. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So he's here now too.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's a
Mm-hmm.
really cool story. Full
Mm-hmm.
circle.
Yeah, it really is. And that's like, yeah, yeah. I don't forget what he did for all of us. And I don't mind spending my time, you know. I've got so many friends who question me on this and they're like,
Why don't you let your parents take care of it or
yeah, or
yeah.
like, you're young. You should be like enjoying your life and going out. I'm like, I am enjoying my life and going out,
Yeah.
but I'm also enjoying my life and caring for the people in my life who deserve it. And
Totally.
that's definitely my grandpa.
Yeah.
My family is like number one. I actually I have a tattoo that says family in Farsi. it's in his handwriting.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love that. That's a
because it
super
is.
meaningful tattoo. That's
Oh, it's
amazing.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
wouldn't
love
be
that
here.
answer. I love that answer. It's not generic at all. It maybe it's an like it's I actually think it's kind of rare for people to say that it's someone that I mean, people do say mom or dad, but yeah, that's amazing. That's a huge gift when you can say that it's your parents, right? Because it's like we don't choose our parents, right? But
Yeah,
when it just so happened that the people who raised you are like, the people that you really,
a
really,
total
really
fucking
admire.
badass.
Yeah, because most people hate their parents, frankly, right?
My
Like
mom saw
terrible
someone get
relationships.
shot right in front of her at age 17 and saved their life.
Hmm.
Like, we take so much for granted. At 17, my biggest worry was what dress I was going to wear to prom. You know what I mean?
Different lives, yeah.
Such different lives. And so I never forget that. And I never forget all the sacrifices that they definitely made.
Yeah.
My dad, too. I'm sorry, I'm sleeping on him. I'm just like,
No, no.
my dad too. My dad works his ass off for us. My dad's
Hmm.
an amazing guy too. It's just that I say I would most identify with my mom because I think
Sure.
she's like a woman too. And so like I saw a lot of the ways she challenged people telling her the way to dress, the way to live, the way and I'm like, I'm a lot like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Um, okay, my last question for you is the kind of the other side of that coin. It's like, who's someone who you haven't met who's been super influential on you? So it could be celebrity, actor, artist, musician.
Okay. Okay. I actually have one, but you're gonna laugh.
No, no answer is too,
Like
cringeworthy
you're
or
literally
anything.
gonna laugh.
That's okay. Go for it.
It even sounds like funny saying it because we're being so serious.
Don't censor
Car-
yourself. We're not
Cardi B.
serious. Cardi B. That makes sense to me. I would not laugh at that. First of all, I listen to Cardi B all the time.
She was a stripper
Yeah.
from a single mother family
She's a success story,
in
no
the
doubt.
Bronx, New York,
Yeah.
without a penny to feed her. I mean, she, through stripping, fed her little sister throughout high school. Like, people look down on strippers or women and men who have to do these sort of jobs just to get food on the table. But, like, how could you look down on that person?
Yeah.
They're working their ass off to feed their family. Like
Yeah, it's hustle.
it's what they had to do. How could you possibly say, what would you rather that she would have starved to death? She didn't have like any other like option. She was in high school. She didn't even have a high school diploma. She doesn't have an education. She doesn't have any opportunities. She's living in the Bronx. She doesn't even have a dad. All she can do is sell her body. That's all she has to do. So she did it and like look at where she is now. And like
Yeah, she's on top of the world now.
I don't know. It's just like to me, it's like that. And she doesn't stop. This is what I like about Cardi B. She doesn't stop saying where she comes from.
Yeah.
She doesn't stop saying it. She's like, I was a stripper. I was a stripper. And then she's like, I've done horrible, like, she's like, I've made really bad mistakes. There's a future for you women who have made bad mistakes. There's a future for you women who have to, who you feel like you have to sell your body. Look at me. I learned I could sell my voice. Like, there's other ways, girls. And like, I like that about her.
Yeah. That's
And
a good answer. I
now
love
she
that.
turns around and with her millions, she goes to strip clubs.
Yeah. She gets to be on the other side.
She goes to strip clubs and she tosses millions at these
Yeah.
young women
She understands it.
who need to feed their family. Yeah, so I just think that's cool, right?
I love that. That's a great answer. Yeah.
So yeah. But I know it sounds
Damn.
funny to be like Cardi B.
No, 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 no. That's a fantastic answer. I love it. My answer is Kanye. So my answer is like just as ridiculous. you know?
Tell me about that.
Um, and it's funny, it was Carter's answer too, who was on the podcast last time. I don't know. I think Kanye is definitely has a lot of faults, right? And they're very public. But he just believes in himself to like you know, to the craziest
10th
degree.
degree.
Yeah, to the craziest degree. Like just how he how he became a rapper is I listened to this podcast called Dissect. It goes into artists and albums, and so they were talking about his first album and how he came up, and like he was signed to Rockefeller, Jay-Z's label, as a producer, or maybe it was another label, but he was signed as a producer because he was really good at making beats. And they told him he'd be able to make a rap album, but they didn't actually want him to do that. Like they just wanted him to rap, or not. They just wanted him to make beats and not rap because he was really good at making beats. But he wouldn't. So he did that. Like he made the beats, but he wouldn't give up on himself to like on his own music and stuff. So, like he'd literally get on tables in meetings and play his music. And then like he'd just be vibing to it, and everyone would be like, "What the hell's going on?" And then because it's kind of this weird music. It's like chipmunky type of like interesting. It's just a clash, right? And he would wear pink polos and shit, and just like not the prototypical rapper. And then he'd leave the room, and everyone would laugh at him and stuff, right?
And
But then he didn't give a
yeah.
fuck. Yeah, he just kept doing it. He kept doing it, and then just people fucked with his music. And the thing that like makes me, I don't know, it gives me goosebumps is like his first really big breakout song. It's called "Through the Wire," and he got into this crazy bad accident, and his jaw was wired shut. But then he basically like had this idea for this song called "Through the Wire," and he sampled this song. It's like "Through the Fire" or something. But yeah, anyway, it's an amazing, amazing song. And like the idea of "Through the Wire" is like he's basically like it's against all odds, And like it was perfect that he was kind of injured and his jaw was wired at the time, because it's like he's like rapping to you from this like place where he's fucked up from this accident, but he's just like pleading with the public. He's like, I'm trying to break through to you. Like, I'm trying to tell you who I am. I'm trying to share my art with you. And just like that unwavering level of, and he's like convinced it's like a fate thing. Like God made me have this accident so I could like share my art with the world.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that just like gives me goosebumps. Is like that level of self-belief and that level of just betting on yourself, and just that situation and that song is like that moment in time is just important for the world, I think, because so many people are inspired by that song and by that moment. Um, yeah, I mean, he makes a lot of mistakes and he lives his life in public, but I think generally he's a force for good. And like, yeah, I love his music. I listen to it when I'm down, and it
He definitely
makes
is
my
an
day.
inspiration.
Yeah,
He definitely is an inspiration. And I would also agree that he's a creative genius. I mean, he is.
definitely, no doubt,
And I don't think any genius in the history of geniuses have ever been completely sane.
totally.
I
It's
mean,
hard to be when you're pushing the edge like that.
it's so
Yeah,
true. I mean, but really, like think about all the artists we know that are like have gone down in history, right?
yeah. Van Gogh,
They were all a little
Picasso,
weird.
they're crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all a little crazy. And like, that's why I also wish people had a little bit more sympathy for Britney, Britney
Mm,
Spears,
yeah.
because she was also a creative genius. She revolutionized pop, but now she's insane.
Yeah.
And it's like, we need to understand, like, creative geniuses are often creative geniuses because they're different than the rest of us. Like, they are different. They are what we would call like weirdos,
Yeah.
you know? And like, and I do like that Kanye is so open about his like mental illnesses too.
Me too.
I would totally agree. I think that that's like one of the coolest things. He's just like, fuck yeah, I'm bipolar.
Yeah.
He's like,
I know.
I love that
It's
song
my
where he's like,
superpower. Yeah.
yeah. He's like, it's my superpower. And I was like,
I love that shit. Yeah.
it's my superpower. I was like, yeah, duh, it is. He's like, name somebody else who's like as bipolar as me.
Yeah. He's like,
Like,
I'm on my bipolar shit. I
yeah,
love that song too.
my superpower. Disability. He's like, disability. I'm like, that's cool because that, like, some kid's gonna listen to that.
Yeah.
Some kid who just got diagnosed with bipolar is gonna listen to like, disability my ass. Like, yes. So no, I think that one's a really cool one too.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think Kanye's pretty cool too.
He is cool. I get a lot of eye rolls when I say that because I'm always defending Kanye, but yeah.
No. I
We
mean,
bo-
no. The only people I get eye rolls with Cardi B too. They're like, what? She's so like, I don't know, trashy or whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, like that's badass. When she came out with that song WAP,
Oh my God. Yeah.
The
That had the internet in
world,
a chokehold for a minute. Yeah.
the whole world was upset up in knots
Yeah.
where like I'm sorry, every rap song that has ever been rapped by a man has been just as like
Oh, way more
nasty, like
profane.
freaky deaky, just like that.
Yeah.
But it's like once a woman starts rapping about her own, then it's like,
Double standard. Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. I
So
love that. I love that the movement of women like Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj.
Megan's cool too.
Yeah. They're fucking smashing the glass ceiling.
The only
Yeah.
thing I wish they would do a little bit less of is the like shitting on other women part.
Yeah, they are pretty bad about that. Like, and like Cardi B and Nicki Minaj go at it physically too, which is
Yeah, well,
that's a
I know.
horrible
Well, and
that's
then
a horrible
Megan Thee
example.
Stallion too. Like she's got all of her songs are always like, "You hoes couldn't compete. You're all dusty. You're all,"
Yeah,
and it's just like, let's
don't
hype.
need that. Yeah,
Yeah, let's hype ourselves and them, or like
yeah, definitely. I feel that. Um, yeah. No, I love yeah, but their music is so good. What's that Cardi B song I love? Be Careful. I don't know if you've heard that one. I love that one's a
You don't know if
banger.
I've heard that one. Of course, I've heard that one. Oh
That's like
my
one of her
God.
biggest ones, right?
Be
Yeah.
careful. And then have you ever heard Through Your Phone?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
I'm gonna write that down.
go do it.
Through
Go do
your
it right
phone.
now. Through Your Phone is like, I think a very common experience that we all have faced where like
Mm,
we see something we didn't want to see on our significant other's phone.
mm.
And she's just like, she says one of the things she said in that song, she's like, or this might even be in Be Careful, I'm not really sure. She goes, like, you even have uh me like tripping. I think I'm flawed because you're inconsistent. You know what I
Mm.
mean? You have me looking in the mirror thinking there
Like
must be
someone
something wrong.
gaslighting me. Yeah.
Yeah, you have me looking in the mirror thinking like I'm flawed and I have to like remind myself it's you that's inconsistent. Like you're making me feel like this, like I shouldn't be, you're having me doubt myself, you
Mm,
know? I think that's a very common experience that a lot of us face.
mm.
So yeah, I
I
really
love
do
that.
think her album is Invasion of Privacy is like to me like poetic justice.
Mm. Is that the
And then
album or that's the song?
Invasion of Privacy is the album.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one that you said you liked. Be Careful.
Yes.
And
Oh
then
my
there's
god, I
also
love
Through
that
Your
song.
Phone on there. There's I Do, which is like all about like I do what I want, you know? And I don't know how like you can crop this out if you want, but like
Nah.
she says why like she's like why were we taught like sex needs to start and end with like a man's orgasm? Like if I didn't orgasm, like if I didn't come, then sex isn't over.
Mm.
Like you like
Yeah.
why did we decide one person's pleasure is more important than the other?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
I love that. Yeah, flipping the script.
Yeah, she says that in her song, and I just think that was like really cool.
I love that. Yeah. Music is I love that you can express the inexpressible, you know? Like
Hmm.
you can't say yeah, that's hard to say in just an everyday conversation.
Yeah,
But when you say it in a song, you can kind of get everyone to start talking about it like we are right now. You know?
yeah,
That's really
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, totally.
Music is cool. Music is an amazing art form.
It
Yeah.
really is. It really
Yeah.
is.
We'll have to have a whole other podcast episode just about music because
Yeah,
I feel like we
I'm so down.
probably have very similar taste in music, just
We
given,
probably do.
our love of Kanye and Cardi B and all this stuff. Yeah.
I'm gonna get you hooked on Cardi.
Oh my gosh. Be Careful is my walking song. Like I go on night walks all the time
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I like Tierra Whack and Cardi B. Like, yeah, I don't know. Be Careful is just such a catchy song. I
It
like
is.
Doja Cat too. Do you like Doja Cat?
I love Doja.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, I love Doja.
yeah, I really love Doja.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think those were the big questions I have. I guess, um, yeah, if you had to give, I don't know, just a general piece of advice for former Sophia, like what would you tell yourself?
Oh my
Like,
goodness, former Sophia. It's okay to make mistakes. Like, don't be afraid to like try and like also like make a mistake, because like I've learned like nobody's keeping score, you know? Like and it's okay if you feel like you weren't acting in your values for a portion of time. Like we can all say, damn, if you knew me then, like I wish you know now, like I regret some of the ways I behaved. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like everyone deserves that. I think everyone deserves to be able to like grow and be accepted for having grown, because that's more impressive to me than staying closed-minded, because we were raised in a bubble.
We were.
And I just wish, yeah, I wish I could have expanded sooner, and then also not been so hard on myself, because like I have to understand like we really were raised in a bubble and I really didn't know any better, you know?
Mm. I love that. We'll close it on that.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Sophia,
Oh my
for
God, of course.
being
This
on the
was so
pod. I had so
fun.
much fun.